Okay, so greetings, dear Libra. That's you over here. This is Tarot Lumination. This is your love and relationship report for February 2018. Now, you know the drill because you've done it plenty of times before. Watch your sun, moon, and rising, even if you have to do the cross-watching for your significant other. And if you want to, if you're single, you can think of this, you can reinterpret this on the understanding that through the laws of attraction, you're always radiating the energy of relationship anyway. And this would be the energy of what if, like if you were to attract someone, this might be the type of energy that would come to you, so to speak, okay? Now, Libra, I've felt forced to add some little astro chatter with these reports like I did with the other signs, and it's you the same. We have this very important eclipse thing, and it's going for you. It's happening over in the 5th and 11th houses. So that's love and romance, and like in a very personal sense. And then like the love of the community, the greater family of mankind, so to speak, humankind. Okay, and coming out of that at the end of January with that huge eclipse, so becoming like starkly aware of what might not be working for you in the larger community environment, which can also help to clarify what does work, realizing what's ending and what's beginning. Also, when we come to the middle of February, with that huge eclipse there in Aquarius, that's touching the south node, okay? So it's an indication of everything is going to be very lit up, very starkly, very clear about beginnings and endings of what's not working for you in love and relationship and romance, and what is working for you. Beginnings of something new, endings of something old, irreversible, no going back. And it could be a little, let's just say, disruptive, or maybe shocking, or just catching you by surprise. We don't know. Or just shifting things in a way that you might not have expected, okay? So we need to be very open-minded and allow for, you know, evolutionary change here, okay? Also, with Saturn in Capricorn on the long journey through your 4th house of home and foundations, you might feel as though things are getting really, let's just say, unsettling in the home environment, in the foundations of your life, where it's going to be a long journey. It's not like anything cataclysmic happening at once, but the Saturn journey there is going to basically, it's like the serious reality check of what's actually happening with you in the foundations of your life, the home, your sense of security, your place in this world, which ties in very closely, you know, with relationships, depending on how you're situated. But this is just for February, okay? We're not going to get into a huge life reading here, all right? Cards are already well shuffled in advance, but we go to the last seconds here. We're witness, no jumpers, flyers, oracles, no reversals. Try to keep it very, very simple here, as simple as we possibly can. We're using the crucible spread on the understanding that there's you, dear Libra, and a significant other, a chosen one, at least very significant. And then there's the relationship itself, which has a life and an energy and an identity and an integrity of its own. And in a loving, healthy relationship, we do everything through the relationship as opposed to like one-on-one in what would astrology be called synastry. Okay, so this is your love vibration, okay? And we're always transmitting. It's literally just like a beacon, like a cell phone, transmitting your signal. That's it. That's what you're transmitting. And this would be the energy of significant other. This would be the energy going down deep into you, pretty much at the soul level, and going the same here over here for the significant other, and right here to the core of the relationship itself, where your energies and their energies combine to give a sense of identity to the relationship. And this is the crucible itself. This is the structure that is either consciously or unconsciously made when you engage in a serious one-on-one relationship. These are the prospects over here. Now, in a healthy relationship, both parties invest and live through the relationship. as opposed to one-on-one. Sometimes these things happen by accident. A lot of times people think they're building this, but they're still relating like this as though the rest of this doesn't exist. So we'll see how it goes. Under here, we're going to look at the weather just to get started. It's circumstantial energy, and you're going to make the most of it. Okay, Libra? So you have the Four of Cups. This card has been coming up so frequently in all sorts of readings. So let's just understand, one of the things I always feel about this is to understand that energy flows where attention goes. So if you are absorbed with, let's just say, the feelings of what's not working, then it can make you feel as though you're missing out. Like things should be going according to a certain plan, but they're not. A lot of us get very fixed in terms of habits and things about what should be, and then we discover coulda, woulda, shoulda, if only, if only, if only, because things don't actually always work that way. Things evolve and grow. The only constant is change. And so if we are, let's say, rigidly stuck into what we think is a loving relationship, only to discover that it's not what we thought it was, and we're missing the point that there are options out there, but it takes a complete realignment of focusing one's attention on on the love that is there. It just might be in a different context or different understanding than you may have ever imagined. And now it's time for a big wake-up call in that department. So we'll see. Let's see what's happening. What's going on with you? Okay. Well, you're holding on and, let's say, putting a good face on things. My feeling is that there's, in some ways, a high degree of innocence here. In other words, it's like you know something's going on. You're not quite sure what it is, and you want to make the best of it, and you're putting your, let's say, your best face forward with all the best of intentions. You want what's best for yourself. You want what's best for your mate. You want what's best for the relationship. You want what's best for everybody. And that would be, let's say, noble, courageous, encouraging, spirited. This just with the degree of innocence here, it makes me feel like you're a bit vulnerable. You're a bit vulnerable to the circumstances we talked about before we started the reading. In other words, these eclipses that are here, the two eclipses, Aquarius, Leo, and then the double Aquarius new moon in the south node, that can leave you very exposed to your innocence and discovering things perhaps in ways that aren't so comfortable about what's actually going along, and what, as opposed to what you think or feel or hoped or imagined was going along. So let's have a look, because if your, let's say, conditions are indicating that, things are just ticking along okay-ish, but there's a deep undercurrent that there's something just out of whack, not satisfying, not working, and you're noticing that and you're feeling that, but it's taking you away from what's really going on. Okay, let's have a look. What about the significant other here? Let's have a look. Okay, well, okay, my feeling here with the Nine of Wands over here with the significant other is that they're kind of in a bind. They're kind of in a bind with you personally, in a very personal way, and with the relationship itself, with the romance and the love and the whole situation, where in some ways they don't know what to do with themselves because they're in kind of a corner. They have reached a point where they're looking at the situation where this is no longer sustainable. The way things are, it's no longer sustainable. So in your innocence, Libra, you might not even be aware that they are feeling this way. It's like, I would say it's very, very personal right now. Almost like two kids, who don't understand the full pictures of what happens in the depths of mature relationships. So let's just say everything started with purity and love and innocence. And as life grows and evolves and moves on, we discover, wait a minute, it's more complicated than we thought. And all of this becomes like questionable, like, And over here, your significant other is in a spot like I'm in a jam. I'm in a real jam here. I'm doing everything I can to hold on to things, let's say the way they were or the way they are at the moment in time. It's just that deep down, they can probably sense that there's a rumbling going on, and they're just doing their best to handle it in their own way. And it's putting them to the strains and the limits of what they can handle themselves. And it's almost like in some ways they're lost and boxed in, painted in a corner, because in some ways they can't turn to you because of the circumstances that are happening in the relationship. It's almost like it's nothing to do with yourself and each other. It's much more to do with like the bigger picture, the big events, the big waves that are happening out there right now. The one that we just mentioned here in particular, and in particular over here, the new moon Aquarius eclipse. It's going to be a real shake-up, wake-up call for you, Libra, in love and romance. Serious endings, which is going to open the door to new beginnings, okay? And that can be quite shocking for people sometimes. It may not happen very overtly, but you're going to feel it deep down inside like a rumbling. And at the same time, the foundations of your life in the world are getting shaken up by the reality check police. Restructuring, remodeling, refurbishing the whole foundations of your life and your world. And that is going to have an effect on your relationship. They are feeling it, but it's almost like they're at the end of their rope because they don't know what to do, because the bigger picture is shaking everything up, where both parties in there, all their passion and innocence and naivety to begin, are actually realizing that they're kind of stretched to the limit. They are realizing it more than you. You might be just puzzled, wondering what's going on, completely oblivious to like the big wave events that are coming. It's almost like everyone around is saying like, hey, watch out, Libra. Don't know if you noticed or if you can feel it, but there's a tsunami coming. And then you kind of go, oh, what's that? You know, I feel like you're very vulnerable here right now, Libra. Let's have a look deep down inside of you. You mean so well. You mean so, so well. It's almost like you want to make things even better than they ever were. And this is, to me, again, I feel a high degree of sweetness and kindness and love here, and a desire to, let's say, fill their cup. Fill their cup with love. Bring all the love that you have, all the innocence, all the passion, all the desire to be everything that you can be for your significant other. And let's say literally being loving and then being loved, except that it's not working over here for them. And let's just move on. Okay, I don't want to like be too hard or tough here on you, Libra, because I feel like I'm being a bit of a bully in some ways. I don't want to do that. I'm trying to help you get through this period, because the shifts are going to be really significant. And the thing is, with the Leo Aquarius eclipse, it's actually quite harmonious for you. Leo and Aquarius are, we're talking about a sextile and a trine, which are naturally very, let's say, compatible and comfortable. So you might be feeling that from the lighter, the first impressions of this energy, but deep down, the eclipse itself can be highly disruptive, especially when it's in the fifth house of love and romance. So do you see the point that I'm trying to make here? It's almost like we're going through a layer cake of like, oh, this looks really yummy. And then you realize, oh my gosh, what are we actually dealing with here? They can feel it. They can sense it. They know it. And they are just struggling to hold on. You might not be aware of that in them. You might be just thinking, let's just keep going. And we got everything, because you're coming into this phase very naive, very innocent, okay? Because it's just started. The Saturn and Capricorn thing, your foundations, that's just begun. A 3-year journey. Let's have a look. What's going on inside of them? Okay, so my feeling is that they are very aware of the things that count in this relationship. Things like stability, home, structure, family, the legacy kind of energy that is built up over time, and that has very, very high value. It's something that you can hardly measure it. Okay, you can have cool cars, cool houses and everything, but there's something amazingly valuable about family and the blood ties and the ties that we build, the ties that bind, deliberately in a loving way. I'm not talking about, codependency and things. I'm talking about, deliberately chosen loving relationship dynamics. So what I'm feeling here is deep inside of them, they are very aware of the value of what exists in them that they can provide to the relationship. They're very aware of what you provide to them and the context of the relationship in like the broader picture, like, the happy family, the home, nieces, nephews, aunts, uncles, moms, dads, kids, relatives, all of that, and being able to enjoy it in a family environment. That's what they like, that's what they need, that's what they want, okay, deep down in their soul. And the thing is with those, I have to keep doing it because I've started the protocol now for the whole playlist for February love and relationships. So I have to keep going. The thing is with the Saturn and Capricorn thing, all of this becomes in jeopardy. That's the thing. That's the challenge. Because for you, your own foundations are being really shaken up for restructuring and remodeling. Now, maybe that's going to happen in a good way, and the relationship is going to grow stronger out of all of this. But my feelings here is that in the day-to-day side of it, no matter how things might appear to be, in a peachy, rosy way, like everything seems to be fine and great, but the reality is there's a little bit of trouble going on here, and it's happening at the very most naive, innocent parts of yourself and the other, which we all have, no matter how mature the relationship might be, no matter how mature you might be, or how mature they may be. I feel we're dealing with very simple, pure energies of passion and love, and the whole idea that in some ways they've got nowhere to move, nowhere to go. They almost feel trapped, and what they want is safety, security, family, home, stability, long-term stuff. And you are offering that in your own way. You feel that you have that to offer, but from their perspective, it's deeply in question. But it's not like, because it's not like you're being challenged openly here. It feels like they are like putting on a very brave face, just trying to get through and get by all this. Let's have a look at the core. Okay. New starts, new beginnings. Okay. No question about it. This is very much to do with Saturn and Capricorn. And it's already in play. It's already in motion. And I think it's going to be triggered more vividly through the month. As you come out of the eclipse at the end of January and you start to feel the rumbling and the shaking that's going on, or even if you're in your kindest, sweetest intentions, there is the whole issue of stability in the home is at question. It's very, very important to them, your significant other. It's obviously important to you, but the thing is, with this shakeup and the restructuring and remodeling, we don't know how this is going to look down the long road for them, because they are very perturbed by the relationship at the moment, okay? So overall, it means new beginnings, new structures, new chances to build a new foundation. But how does that look? Because you're going to be coming out of one way of relationship and starting a whole new way of relationship. Beginnings and endings. That South Node Aquarius new moon eclipse is a very, very loud wake-up call that it's going to be time now to walk away, abandon, and give up everything that is very clearly lit up that's not working for you guys in this relationship, and start to refigure out, well, what are we going to do now? Okay, and that's the energy of the Saturn and Capricorn. It's having really solid, like facing reality here. What are we going to do? How are we going to do this now? Okay, so it might be a bit of like, woe is me. Well, if only we'd done this, or shoulda, coulda, woulda done this. And now we have a chance to refocus the energy, but I don't see that happening here, because you've got a significant other who's literally just barely holding on to this relationship. And they're holding on mostly because they value the structure and stability of family and home, and yet they feel this way. Okay, so where does this lead us, just for getting through? Okay, we got the Ten of Swords here. So it might be like right towards the end of the month when we get to that, I think it's like February, it's almost around Valentine's Day, where the new beginnings in the relationship dynamics relate to very stark endings that might not be very openly apparent, because it seems like they are like actually working really hard to stay involved and committed here because this is so important to them. And you see that and you want that to happen. It's just that the reality check of what's going on is that there are very significant endings and very significant beginnings in the area of love, relationship, and romance right here. And at the same time that your whole foundations of life are being shaken up. So how this is actually going to play out, it's a whole other thing. But with the Ten of Swords here, the prospects is that for the relationship itself, it's going to eventually become very evident. No matter how well intended you are, no matter how loving and kind you are, it's going to be very evident from their perspective. You might start to feel it towards the end of the month that there are certain things that are no longer acceptable, that are just simply done, broken, F-U-B-A-R. You probably know what that means. F'd up beyond repair. And that just becomes the solid reality check. And that would be very closely associated with the eclipse. Okay? So it's like there might be a lot of love here and a lot of investment and a lot of stability that's at stake here. But there are certain aspects about what's going on that it's just untenable. It's just the end. There are certain things that are just no longer acceptable, but it does open up to new beginnings. Again, aligned here with new beginnings. So it's like the end of one life cycle and the beginning of a new life cycle when it comes to love, relationship, and romance. So you can still maintain a structure here, but it's going to be a complete long-term remodeling operation, a complete restructuring and remodeling of your love life, because they are obviously done with things the way they are at the moment. No matter how sweet and kind you might be, no matter how loving you might be, they're done with certain things the way they are at the moment. And the evolutionary pressure of the planets is basically forcing a restructuring and a remodeling of the relationship from the ground up. How does that play out? Well, we'll see later through the year, especially around July and August when these eclipses play out again big time. So we still have the ability to intimate, separate, intimate, and separate, intimate, and separate here, but there's a lot in question here. So you might feel a sudden one of these. Whoop, uh-oh, whoa, what's going on here? Because they are already like way out on the fringes here, doing the best, like almost like just playing a role or faking it till they, not faking it like deliberately being fake, but literally just holding on by a thread. And you might only barely be aware of it. Okay. So please be very, very careful right now through this month, Libra. Even though the Leo Aquarius thing is very harmonious for you, the reality of what's going on is the deeper layers of this transit time are actually about complete endings of one way of relationship, home, family structure, love and romance in the home, and the chance to start all over again where whatever is not working has to go. It just has to go because it's no longer acceptable. It is no longer viable. Okay, and then you can start all over again. Okay, some way, somehow. We'll see how that works. It's just that they're right at the tippy end of their ability to handle this. Okay, you might not know it. I just want to reiterate that. Okay, so please make the best of this. Thank you, dear Libra, for visiting. I hope you can, reinterpret this to suit yourself. All is not lost here. Just understand there's beginnings and endings. Okay, think long term as well with the Saturn stuff. Complete remodeling, restructuring of the foundations of your life in which your love life exists. Okay, and that there's going to be a complete ending of one way of love life and a brand new beginning of a new way of love life. It's going to play out over a few months. All right, that's enough. Figure it out. Do your cross watching too if you have to or if you want to. Bye bye, Libra. All the best.